Hi, welcome to the Crafts channel. My name's Corinne Brad and today I'd like to show you how to cheat at mandalas. If you want to produce something like this, or even mandalas for your card making, or covering a journal, or even if you want to go totally overboard and produce this whole set of mandalas to decoupage a tray with, then it's nice if you can use your own designs. But I've found that since the advent of everything being done on a keyboard or a touchscreen, my handwriting is appalling and subsequently my line drawing is equally bad. But I found a way to produce really symmetrical, accurate looking mandalas relatively easily. So I'm going to show you how. Take yourself a square of paper and your old school compass. Find the centre of the paper, and what you need to do to start with is draw a series of concentric circles. You don't have to be too accurate with the measure. Oh, you do have to be too accurate. You have to be accurate. You've kept it in the centre of the circle, but you don't have to be accurate with the measuring of the width of each circle. But you continue doing this until you end up with a design like that. You've still got the centre of your circle there, which has been marked where your compass was. If you draw a straight line through the centre of that circle, like so, and then use a protractor to mark your angles. Now your angle will depend on how many arms you want your mandala to have. I'm going to put 8 arms on mine. So, first of all you'll need a point at 90 degrees, that will divide it into 4, then you'll need it 45 degrees to divide it into 8. If you want to do more, you can obviously then put sort of another 22.5 degree increments in there. If you want a six-sided mandala, do it at 60 and 120. But just remember that a circle is 360 degrees, so divide that 360 by the number of arms you want on your mandala, and then you'll find out how many degrees you'll need to measure. And if you take those markings of the 90 and the 45 and run a line straight through the middle of your circles, you will end up with your 8 points. And then what you can do is, say, you can 22.5 degrees here, you can add more arms to it, so you end up with this. Now I've done this quite heavily in pencil so it picks up on the camera. When you would do it, you'd just normally use quite a light pencil stroke. So there's your mandala to start with, so you need to start filling it in. A lot of the videos I've seen, people have started from the centre and they've worked their way out, and they've got, you know, they've started really small and their designs have gradually got bigger. As I say, because my hands just don't seem to want to do what I want them to do, I've found it much easier to start big, and as your hands get into the feeling of drawing, go smaller. So what I want to do is, if I want to put some, you know, these little bits here, some petals, I found it really easy to make yourself a template. And this is why I'm saying you're cheating at mandalas, because it is freehand, but it's not exactly freehand. And what I've done, if you have a card template, you can simply pencil sketch. Let's do every other line here, around here, to build up your design. Put a third one here. And it does mean that each of your sections of your mandala are relatively symmetrical. I'm going to add, on the next line down, some leaf designs in here. Oh. And it helps also if you turn your paper as you work, so that you can find the easiest angle for you to work with. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to, here, I want to make a double line. So I'm just going to use my compass again and then just go over here, that double line, just as a reminder so that I know I'm doing it. And inside here, let's think about here, draw a smaller petal. And obviously you would do this on every section of the mandala, but I'm just doing it on part of the section so you can see how the design will build up. And these templates are really simply made. You take yourself a square of card, fold it in half so you've got your centre line for the symmetry, and then just cut yourself a whichever shape you like. And what you can do is if you go, right, well I want that to go there, and oh it's too fat or it's too thin, you can adjust it as you cut it to fit the area that you want to fill. And you can carry on building up that design. So what you'll end up with eventually is something like this, which looks like a scene from an architect's nightmare, but in fact it is a really simple mandala to follow. And again, as I say, your pencil lines will be much, much thinner than this, so you can rub them out more easily. And then you start to fill it in. Now, you know, I've started from the outside and worked in, so I know where the overlap lines are. They're quite big, these sections. I'm just going to use, this is just a cheap old fine liner pen. I think you can pick them up for like a pack of 5 for 20 from your local Wilkinson store or something like that. And I'm just going to draw over the lines. And the way I'm going to do it, is because I'm naturally left-handed, I find it easy to do like a clockwise curve. But I find it really difficult to do it in the opposite direction. So I'm going to do all my clockwise curves first of all. But then I can't do it back that way because my hand doesn't seem to work in that way. So I then start from the bottom and do the clockwise curves again like this. Turning the paper each time. You can do this on any kind of paper that you like. This is just a 100-gram bond. I mean, you can get some really nice, what they call alcohol ink papers, which are excellent. They don't bleed, but you do find that sometimes a water-based ink like this fine liner will take a bit longer to dry on them, so you just need to make sure you don't smudge them. And then I'm just gonna, I won't do all of this pattern because it will bore you senseless. Just gonna outline it. And this is what I mean by it is still freehand, because you're following those guidelines more or less accurately, but you didn't draw those guidelines to start with yourself, you traced around them. So you continue to just go over these lines to build up that pattern. And once you've covered it and rubbed your lines out, you'll end up with something like this. Again, so nice and symmetrical and pretty much freehand. And that's where you can then start to add your detailing. So you can put dots in here. You can draw a little stem of swirly leaves. Like this. You can section off your petals. And what you'll find, the more you do this, the easier it will flow, the easier your hand will work. You know, if you, say, if you are like me and you very rarely do any actual physical written work, sometimes your hand just doesn't seem to move as well as it used to. Perhaps it's an age thing. This is probably why colour therapy has become so popular, because people can concentrate on just moving their hand to make accurate movements. I mean, I've even introduced my octogenarian father to colour therapy because he was getting worried his hands were getting too arthritic. He couldn't even sign his own name anymore. So he nips upstairs into his study for a quarter of an hour every day and colours in a couple of flowers. And he's really enjoyed it. Which surprises me because he's quite a practical man and I never thought he'd be into colouring in, but he's enjoying it. And it's one of those things you can just sit down, if you've got something on the TV, you can just sketch and you can carry on sketching and just fill in the details how you want to fill them in. Just adding swirls and borders and things like that to build up your design. Until you end up with something like this. that actually altogether, when I did it at home, didn't take very long at all. But you've got quite a nice, intricate looking design. And I'd recommend that you colour them in with alcohol inks. I'd also recommend that if you're just using bond paper, you put something underneath it to protect your cutting mat. Otherwise it will end up covered in alcohol ink. Use the brush end of an alcohol marker. These are Copic markers, which are absolutely fantastic. But you don't want to let your 3-year-old play with them because they will run them out and they're pretty expensive. But you can pick up, I mean, there's a lot of alcohol markers available on the market now that you can get from most good craft shops or online. And get yourself a decent range of colours. If you're colouring this in and you've done this on actual alcohol marker paper, you will be able to blend the colours before they dry. If it's on bond, you'll still get the effect of a nice smooth finish. You won't get any of those horrible pen lines where you've gone with a felt tip pen and it keeps overlapping. You'll get a nice solid colour, but you will struggle to make it blend effectively, simply because it dries too quickly. But it's a really easy way to do it. It's actually very relaxing drawing the mandalas, not just colouring them in. And with the brush tips on these, you can get into very fine corners and crevices without too much difficulty. So I hope that has given you a bit of inspiration to draw your own mandalas. Don't just consign it to a bit of paper. I've actually done mandalas on the back of denim jackets. You can do embroidery with them, things like that. It's to get that design in the first place, that nice, brightly coloured, intricate, symmetrical design. And you can decorate your whole house with them. So I hope you've enjoyed it. We'd love to see your creations, so please do share them with us on the Crafts channel, and we'll catch up with you soon. If you've been inspired to create, please share your makes with us in the comments section below. And if you've enjoyed videos by the Crafts channel, hit the like button. Want to see more of us? Then click subscribe. See you next time.